What's going on, everyone, and welcome to Open Beta 8 Goddess of Destruction Update Notes Review. And yes, as you can see, the new goddess, the new goddess coming to Smite 2. She's a pre-existing character, but she's coming to Smite 2 on Monday, I believe, which is April 21st. So in 2 days as I am recording. This is posted on the 18th, so yeah. Wanted to go over this. Is this going to be live in a couple of days? But going based off of OB7, OB8 now, and OB9, we saw that OB7 had a bunch of nerfs to like every single item in the game. And so they said with that, they're going to be doing some changes here in OB8 with specified items, more unique stuff going with that. So we'll see how that is. I got spoiled on a couple of things. So I do know a couple of things that are coming, but I think that's basically it for the intro. As per usual, the URL will be in the description down below if you'd like to take a look at it yourself. But other than that, let's get into the notes. All right. So yes, new port of God, Kali. Let's go right into it, I guess. We don't really need to read all this. This is just the description of her. If you want, you can do it yourself. But so Kali's gonna be melee, basic, physical, hybrid scaling, which means both intelligence and strength scaling. These are basically the same as from Smite 1. Physical, melee attacks, basically the same. Passive, marked for death. Mark a god, gain physical penetration against that god. Killing that god restores health. Assist, restore less health. You also gain bonus gold bounty. Additionally, basic attacks and most abilities apply rupture to enemies, which is a new thing. If a marked target dies, enemy god closest to Kali becomes marked. You can use interact in the fountain to change your marked target. But so there's a new thing called rupture, and applies sort of like a, I guess, so like Thor's aspect, if you think about it, or like a Zeus passive, where there's like a little tiny mini bar across the enemy's health bar, and it applies effects to a couple of your, I think it's one, I know it's specifically one specific ability, but we'll get into that. So nimble strike, or one, leaping, dealing physical damage. Heal health if this ability landed on an enemy. If you landed on an enemy god, heal for a percentage of their missing health. If you landed on multiple gods, restore based on that god that would heal you the most. So very similar to like Hamazot's 3 from Smite 1. Applies 3 stacks of rupture. I don't remember how many stacks you can get, but I know it's more than 3, I believe. Ability, lash, or 2. Throws 3 blades forward, each doing physical damage and applying a bleed. The bleed deals physical damage every 0.5 seconds for 3 seconds. So it's going to be 6 different ticks for the 3 seconds. Applies 1 stack of rupture for each blade hit. And then finally, before getting to her ult, we have her third ability, Incense. Stun enemies with Incense, gaining both strength and intelligence, siphons targets, dealing physical damage, which is a new thing to her 3. It didn't used to do that. And healing 30 health per hit. Damage and heal increase per rupture stack, consuming them. So this is specifically where your 3 and your passive sort of synergize. All heals after the first are reduced by 80%. The strongest heal is resolved first. Non-god targets with a stack of rupture. Non-god targets with a stack of rupture are damaged and restore health as if they have 3 stacks. So that's going to be enemies, camp, stuff like that. So I believe it does damage based on how many stacks you have in her passive, as well as healing as well. Let's see, all heals at the first are reduced strong. Yeah, it doesn't really tell you in that, but I do remember seeing that in their playtest of her. Ultimate ability, destruction, become immune to death. Displacement, slows, and roots. So basically everything except maybe stuns, I believe. That was kind of the case with her last time as well. Deal physical damage to nearby enemies every 0.25 seconds for its duration. If you're below 15% health when the ultimate ends, you are restored to 15% of your health. Each hit applies 1 stack rupture. And then that's basically it. So just a couple of new things basically with her passive and her 3. And I guess technically in her scaling, she really didn't, you know, Smite 1 didn't have, was no such thing as scaling in the way they do it in Smite 2. But apparently you can kind of go ability based from what they've said. I don't know how true that is. I think she's basically just going to be better used as an ability based attacker. I'm sorry, not an ability base, auto attacker. So there you go, that's Kali. Pretty excited for her. I don't really like her as a character from just hate the fact that she's like a pub stompy, like can destroy your team. She's so annoying, gets away, stuff like that. But I'm excited for the new content. She's not coming with an aspect though. All right, we got some new skins. Got a new Pele clown skin, I believe, right? Looks like a little clown skin. Got some new skins. Cuckoo Khan. They got some prism skins too with the Cuckoo Khan and looks like the Pele skin. So cool things there. New cosmetic quips. I saw this. Quips have been added to the game. There are new sound emotes that will use one of your slots here for your VGS. Quips are subject to spam flood protection. Are short sounds that are playing the character proximity. So pretty cool little quips for you. There's a fart. There's a horn. Quack me up, sat bar. So I actually do like this. I like the way they're going with this, at least with the cosmetics. They do make them pretty enticing and fun. So that's pretty cool. God Builder is here. Super excited. This will actually really allow me to, you know, if I want to do a meta builds update or like builds for every god, this will make it a lot easier. And so super excited about that. But not only that, you can actually save the build, so you don't have to like keep looking back to builds on like on your phone or something. You can just look strictly on your own god builder, and you can make your own builds for that, which is really nice. I know how many people like that. So now you can save builds for your favorite gods and share them with the community, which is pretty cool. This is the first version of the feature, and they'll be coming out with new patches, sort of updating it. Auto build and auto level integration will be cool with it. Builds can be created from the main menu, making your own build by going to my builds. So this is instructions on how to do it. And this is what it looks like. It gives you the whole description of it, basically in SMITE 1. Couple of items here, entries, I suppose. You can add an entry here as well, so you can just make different types of builds here, which is pretty cool. And here's some with the items on it, which is really nice. So glad they're actually finally doing this. In-match access god builds via the item store. There'll be a separate tab on that, which is pretty cool. And then on top of that, you can kind of go through community-based builds and see what they're cooking. So that's pretty cool as well. If you want to be like, I don't know what a good build is, I didn't save one, let me see, what do we got one? Oh, I know this guy, he's reputable, let me go pick him and check his build out, which is pretty cool. I like that. I like how they're innovating that. So super excited about that. Skin special emotes. I'm not entirely sure what this is. Special emote functionalities now. SMITE 2 players can use these emotes for skins that have them by inputting the special emote too. Okay. And these are specific skin emotes, I guess, in the name, right? I don't know. I think that's I mean, for example, with Thanatos, you can turn into a giant toast, so that's pretty cool. I think that's what it's referring to. All right, actual changes. Going into Conquest, Firebrands. I saw these. These things were little things on the Fire Giant thing, around the Fire Giant circle before Fire Giant is, I believe. Let's see. Firebrands offer a way for junglers, soul laners, and mid laners a way to gain incremental power. They spawn in pairs and will enrage when one of them is slain. Spawns in the Fire Giant pit at 3 minutes. There are 2 total within the pit. When slain, drops 2 Fire Giant Embers. Grants the same bonuses as Fire Giant Embers that naturally spawn in the pit. When one of the Firebrands dies, the other enrages. The enraged Firebrand gains increased health, attack speed, and power. Spawns every 2 minutes. And then when the Fire Giant spawns, the Firebrands are removed from the pit and will no longer spawn in the match. So more of an incentive, like sort of like the earlier in the game, to do some more objective-based stuff. Fire Giant Ember update. Reduced strength intelligence rewards it gives from +2 to +1. They reworked Totem of Coup. Remember that. We've disabled the bonus minion effect on the totem and instead replaced it with stacking cooldown rate bonus. This reward will be available to grab from the first totem spawn and onwards. So Totem of Coup no longer grants a buff to its minions in each lane, now grants a permanent +1 cooldown rate to the player who contributed the most damage to capturing the totem. This only includes players on the team that captured the totem objective. So that's pretty cool. It makes it more, I think it makes it a more incentive to do that, honestly, because cooldown is very important. If you could just get it from killing an objective on the map, why wouldn't you? Jungle timers update. Okay, let's see. Jungle timers will now have 2 states. If an enemy did not witness a camp being cleared, they will have no knowledge of the camp when a camp will spawn. This means that the enemy will see an empty camp on the minimap. Wait a second. If an enemy did not witness a camp being cleared, they will have no knowledge of when a camp will spawn. This means that the enemy will see an empty camp on the minimap with no respawn timer. Isn't this already a thing? Okay, if I'm reading, I might be reading that wrong or understanding. This means that the enemy will see an empty camp on the minimap with no respawn timer if they didn't witness it. Okay, yeah. If an enemy did witness a camp being cleared, they will see the respawn timer for that camp as normal. This means that the enemy is fully aware of when a camp will respawn. Wasn't that already the case? I'm tripping. I don't know. Wind Sprite update. Wind Sprites was our first experiment aimed at having having objective spawn. Currently in the iteration phase of pushing this idea further and expanding on its possibilities. In the meantime, we will continue to make adjustments. Okay, reduce the number of wind sprites throughout the map. I know there was a little bit of controversy with this. A couple of people I know were upset because I believe the wind sprites that created would allow the enemies to grab it too. So minion updates. Minion versus minion TK, time to kill. Minions now clear each other significantly slower than normal. For example, a melee versus a melee typically took 10 hits to clear. Now it's 15. Okay, pretty cool. Allows you to get that that XP without worrying about, you know, your minions killing it before you can get it. Remove the anti-magic shield from brutes. Gold Fury update. Leadership aura. Reduce damage reduction granted to minions from 30 to 15. Okay, reduce bonus power granted to minions. Okay, so they're just reducing the buff to minions. Titan update. Increase the amount of stats that Titan gains from tier 2 towers. Increase bonus max health from 650 to 1300. Increase bonus power from 20 to 40. Okay, so they're just buffing the shit out of the Titan. 10 to 15 and 7 to 9 on magical defense. Team gold rewards. If your team is behind in team, they're doing a comeback mechanic. If your team is behind in team gold on the scoreboard, all structures and neutral bosses, towers, all of them, will award you team bonus gold up to 65% of the objective's value. How much bonus gold your team gets depends on how far behind your team is, up to a maximum 8,000 gold behind. This mapping is exponential, so the bonus gold will only slightly behind, while is meager, and while moderately behind is still fairly small. So yeah, they're making it to there's a comeback mechanic. I don't know how I feel about that. That's always going to be a divisive subject. You don't want a game where the enemy team, if you've like really snowballed them, have an easy way to get back in the game, but also you don't want it to be too hard to where like it's impossible. So you got to kind of fit that balance, and I don't know if this is going to be a little too hard to make the point of snowballing kind of ineffective or moot. I guess we'll see though. First Blood changes. Reverted the previous change from OB6. First Blood now grants 200 gold instead of 75. I saw that and I was like, are we sure about that? So yeah, that makes sense. Meditation can now be sold for 0 gold on assault. I don't know why you would do that, but maybe you want another relic, I suppose. So, you know, we'll see. All right, I'm kind of going back to this. I didn't read this part in terms of the jungle timer camps. SMITE 1 players will recognize how this feature works. For new players in SMITE 2, here's a breakdown of how timers work. Gotcha. That's why I didn't understand what the fuck they were talking about, because that's already how it worked. All right, going into God Balance. Here we go. Cupid nerf. Cupid is pretty good. Has been pretty good for a while, and I'm surprised it didn't get a nerf last time, but here it is. Aspect of love. Heart Bomb, his one. Her one, his one. I don't know. Decreased initial hit damage scaling from 30% strength plus 30% intelligence to 15 to 15. Decreased explosion damage from 30 to 30 to 15 to 15. Kind of decreasing the damage on his or her one, on Cupid's one, in terms of the aspect. They want kind of a split change with that, I suppose. Share the Love. Decreased base damage from 80 to 280 to 65 to 265. So nothing too crazy. Overall, a little bit less damage on the 2, which, you know, is fine, honestly. But Cupid's still gonna be really good. Sobek Shift, Aspect of Prey, Charge Prey, increased base damage from 70 to 230 to 85 to 245. Increased damage scaling from 75% to 85%. Okay, so that's just a straight up buff right there. His 3 Sickening Strike decreased God damage over time damage from 5 to 7% HP over 2.5 seconds to 4 to 6%. Okay. Overall, just 1% less. Nothing crazy. Lurking Waters decreased base damage from 300 to 900 to 300 to 780. Ooh. Ooh, my God. 120? Yeah, 120. That's pretty significant. Yeah, overall, it's kind of in line with him. He's doing a little bit less damage in his 3 and his ult, but a little bit more damage in the 1. So really, it's kind of a nerf, in my opinion. I don't think the damage in his 1 can kind of compensate these 2. So honestly, I'd say that's kind of a nerf. Yeah, I did see this. I don't know why the fuck we're buffing Yamoja, especially in her 2 of all things. Moonstrike 1. Increased inner hit damage scaling from 75 to 85% plus 10%. Cool. Increased subsequent bounce damage from 50% to 65%. 15% increase in damage in her 2. Why? I feel like she was a little bit overtuned. I don't know, man. I don't know how I feel about this one, but there it is, I guess. Hercules buff. I don't think he needs a buff. I think he's fine where he's at, but we'll see what this is. Mitigate wounds 3. Increase protections from 5 to 25 plus 15% of your protections from items to 10 to 30 plus 20%. So an extra 5% from your protections and 5 extra just flat overall. Okay. Why? Excavate 4. Increase base damage from 280 to 760 to 320 to 760. Okay, just doing even more damage right out the gate. But you know, as you level it up, it'll reach the same amount at 760. I don't think we needed to buff Herc. That's pretty significant too. So that's cool. I mean, I play him a lot, so you know, fuck it, I'll just abuse him. All right, on her buff, Impale is 2. Increased damage scaling from 85% to 90, and an decreased cooldown from 12 to 1. Okay, doing more damage and up 1 second sooner. Nice. Disperse, increased base damage from 70 to 230 to 90 to 250. We're constantly buffing on her, and I'm not opposed to it. I don't think he's like the greatest right now. I mean, honestly, I think he's a lot better than people give him credit for. He's a little bit harder to play at a really good level too. So I'm not really opposed to a buff, but we're buffing him every patch. He's eventually gonna get really good. We'll keep going down that route. Danzabura buff, Alluring Spirits in his 2. Increased heal per tick from 15 to 35 to 20 to 40. I mean, I always felt like his, you know, the tick instead of a flat heal from Smite 1. 5 more is fine. Tsuduki Trickery, increased base damage again from attacking out of the leaf form early from 20 to 60 to 35 to 75, which is pretty significant. 15 more. Doing more damage on the Danza. Not opposed. Neath buff, backflip. Why are we buffing Neath? Increased base damage from 80 to 240 to 85 to 265. So an extra, what is that? 25 at the end. It incrementally increases. And decreased cooldown from 15 to 13 overall, making our 3 a lot quicker to be back up. That's just going to make the build for your full damage build a lot better, especially if you're going to build a little bit of cooldown. You're just never going to die. Have your back flip up. So that should be fun. And then finally, Agni. New aspect releasing on April 28th. Aspect of Combustion. Your basic attacks now ignite enemies, dealing damage over time and stacking 5 times. Flame Wave and Rain of Fire consume ignites burst of damage. Rain of Fire deals reduced damage. So you're reducing the damage, but with his passive and his basic attacks with the new aspect, these 2 items will synergize with that. So it's gonna make him an AA auto attacker, or no, I'll just say auto attacker. Jesus, auto attacker. Agni build on the way on the 28th, so it should be cool. But that's all for the God balance. On to item balance. Dominance has been removed. No one really built that item, and since they changed the way that item worked from Smite 1, it's not surprising, but they're adding a decent amount of new items here. So in replacement of dominance, not necessarily in replacement, but you know, adding a new item, Tier Thing, if I'm saying that right, hopefully. For 2,600 gold, you get 50 strength, 10% attack speed, and basic attacks deal 15 bonus physical damage. Hitting a guy with a basic attack increases this damage. This deals by 15 for 14 for 4 seconds. Jesus. Stacking 1 time plus 1 per 4 levels. Okay. So you're gonna get what? 4, 8, 12, 16. So you're gonna get an extra 5 stacks at level 20. So you're gonna get 6 stacks. Stacking 1 time. Yeah, 6. 1 plus 5, 6. So 6 times 15, what, 30, 60, 90? Am I doing math right? 30, 60, 90, yeah. By 15. Basic attacks deal 15 bonus physical damage. Hitting a guy with a basic attack increases the damage this deals by 15. Okay, so you're going to be dealing 105 if I'm doing that right. 105 at level 20. Obviously, it's going to be mitigated depending on the god's, you know, protections, physical protections. But wow, that seems pretty strong. I'm not gonna lie. They're probably going to need to nerf that unless I'm doing the math incorrectly, which I don't think I am. That's pretty strong. That is pretty strong. All right, new item Rage. For 24, 50, 30 strength, 20 critical strike chance, you permanently gain 5% strike chance when killing or getting an assist on enemy god. At 4 stacks, this item evolves, getting 10% critical strike chance. So basically the same thing as Rage from Smite 1. Ancient Signet. For 2,600, you get 75 intelligence, 200 max mana. Enemy gods hit by your abilities take 20 plus 10 per level bonus magical damage. So at level 20, you're going to be doing 220 when you hit an enemy god. This only occurs every 20 seconds. This cooldown is reduced by 2 seconds for every minion kill or assist. Okay, so I'm thinking this is going to be good on Cuckoo. Like Hecate, stuff like that. I was going to say, there better be some type of thing here. I still think this is going to be a really strong item. Not the cheapest item, but still, you know, relatively affordable. So that should be an interesting item for gods like that. We'll see how strong it is. But Tear Fang is going to be, I think that's going to be a really, really good item. All right, into pre-existing items. Bancroft's Talon. Passive lifesteal increase from 10% lifesteal at the health floor. Wait, passive lifesteal increase from 10% lifesteal at the health floor to 20% lifesteal. Gotcha. Okay, so you're just increasing it at the floor of your, in terms of its passive, to 20%, which is 100% increase, which is really nice. The item was already kind of lackluster to begin with, so that's pretty cool. Berserker Shield. Removed health regen. Recipe change, whatever. Decreased attack speed from 25 to 20. But rework the passive. While below... Okay, this is just the regular passive. You gain 30 protections, which is really fucking good, too. While below 60% health, you become Berserk for 8 seconds. While Berserk, you gain 50% protections from items and 25 attack speed. Okay. Let's say you have 150 protections, which is not hard to get at all. You gain 50% protections from items. Well, I guess it's strictly from items. You do have protections without that. So, you're not going to get 75 protections if, let's say, 150. You got to calculate what specific items give it to you. I mean, honestly, it should be roughly around the same, if not a little bit more. This just means that full tank is going to be a lot better, though, because you're going to be able to stack that 50% on all the attack speed up, so, or all the protection items. So I don't know. I think that, honestly, I think that makes it a little bit better. At least full tank. Hybrid, not as much, but still, even with hybrid, still pretty solid. Bloodbound Book. Removed health. Increased lifesteal from 12% to 17%. These are weird numbers. But an extra 5%. HP shield scaling increased from 80% intelligence to 100%. Cooldown reduction decreased from 50% to 25%. And then cooldown decreased from 140 to 80 seconds. Okay, so they're just changing a lot of this. So your HP shield is actually going to scale off 100% of your intelligence. The cooldown reduction decreased, so in half. But in change, you're going to get the cooldown reduced almost by half too as well to get this item back up. But you get a lot more lifesteal. So overall, I think that's fine. you're probably gonna still build this relatively the same, but I guess we'll see. Blood Forge, remove attack speed. Increased lifesteal from 10 to 15. HP shield scaling increased to 100% to 150%. Cooldown reduction decreased from, so very similar to Bloodbound Book. I honestly was saying, I don't think Blood Forge should be an attack speed item. And wouldn't you look, they got rid of it. So I think this should be more of a burst jungle damagey item. So that's nice. All right, on to Book of Thought. This item now provides 20 intelligence, 100 mana on evolution instead of the penetration. You gotta give me a little bit more than 20 intelligence. I know you get 100 mana and it stacks off a book, but penetration is really nice. I don't think that makes book... I think that makes book worse, actually. Bracer Abyss. The Abyss increased passive and max stacks from 6 to 8. Okay, so you can get more stacks on a Bracer of Abyss, which is actually nice for more of your magical ADCs. Cersei's Hexstone decreased max health from 350 to 300. Cooldown decreased from 90 seconds to 70 seconds. The damage from the active effect now deals 10% of your current HP as damage instead of the enemy's. Okay. So you're gonna have this up a lot more. And depending on what you have, now it deals damage based on that current HP. So you stack some some health with that, might be pretty good. Dagger of Frenzy now 100 gold less on its final version. Decreased strength from 50 to 35. Passive buff change from 30% attack speed for 5 basic attacks to 50% attack speed for 6 basic attacks. Okay, so the passive's a lot better, but decreased the strength by a lot. But honestly, passive was already really good, and now they make it even better. I think that overall makes Dagger of Frenzy a lot better. You get an extra basic attack, and you get 50% attack speed, which is really nice. Alright, on to a Deathbringer. Decreased strength from 55 to 45, decreased critical strike chance from 25 to 20. So you're getting a lot less power, strength I mean. And critical strike chance going down by 5, but increased passive critical strike damage from 25 to 35. So, kind of more heavily relies on, what it should be, which is critical strike damage. So I'm actually not opposed to that. Death Metal decreased critical strike chance from 20 to 15. Active effect rework. Remove strength and intelligence from the aura effect. This item now provides 15% critical strike chance in an aura. Increase attack speed from 20 to 25. Honestly, I don't remember how much strength and intelligence it gave, but overall, you're still getting more critical strike chance. You're getting 30% instead of the 20. You're getting extra 5% attack speed. The aura was nice. I don't even know if this really should be an aura item. I don't know how I feel about aura items that are based on damage. I mean, I guess it's fine. The aura is kind of going to be useless, though, for like any of your teammates. But for yourself, it's nice. I don't know if it's a great change from strength and intelligence aura, but it fits in line more with the crit base item that this is. All right, Demon Blade. Increased critical strike chance from 25, or decreased from 25 to 15. Ooh, that's 10. Increased attack speed by 5. Increased base passive attack speed buff from 15 to 30. My God. Decreased passive buff duration from 4 seconds to 3 seconds. Okay. So when you get a critical strike, you get 30% attack speed. You already have 20%, so that's 50% attack speed. Oh my gosh. Strike chance has gone down a lot. It seems to be the case with all these crit base items. Honestly, I think that makes Demon Blade better. I think that makes it a little bit better. I think the DPS that you're going to be getting with this is going to probably nullify the fact that you have 10% strike chance. And at the end of the day, it's RNG. So, I think this is probably better. Devourer's Gauntlet. This item now provides 5 strength and 7% lifesteal on evolution instead of the penetration. I mean, that's cool and all, but I like the pen, man. I like the pen. So, I mean, overall, I think that makes the item a little bit worse. Same with book. We'll see, though. Arrow says bow. Increased healing per basic attack damage from 2% to 3. Decreased ally mark range by 6.4. Cool, I guess. That's not really going to change how niche the item actually is. Eye of the Storm. Remove physical protection. Increase magical protection from 20 to 40 and increase health by 50. Okay, that makes that item a lot better. If you don't know, the passive on this takes from magical takes damage, magical damage onto you, increasing it by 100%, increasing the health as well. It's going to be a lot nicer too. This item's actually pretty underrated, especially if it's like with a chalk, which I have a video coming out for that soon. So I actually think this is a pretty cool and fun item recently. All right, on to Genji's Guard. Cooldown decreased from 30 seconds to 20 seconds. Nice. Helm of Radiance increased passive max stacks from 4 to 6, which is nice too. I think that's gonna make hybrid gods a lot better. I was thinking about putting this on like a mage as like a one protection item. I don't think it's gonna be great though, because you do have to get attacked 6 times to get the max stacks of protections. But who knows, maybe the base stats on it is good enough, and the passive, if you do get hit by physical gods, would make this even more busted, I suppose. But overall, maybe they should, I think this is obviously it's obviously a buff, but maybe they should change the amount of times you have to get hit to maybe just stay at 4, but increase the amount of protections you get from it, to have this effect to make it better. Overall, it's a really solid item. I think they did that last time too. I think they increased the amount of protections you get per stack. But if they're going to do this anyways, they should probably change the same way again. Hide Anemia Lion. The passive effect from this item has been removed. The active Reflect effect has been increased from 30% for 3 seconds to 40% for 4 seconds. Decreased cooldown from 120 to 60. So that's going to make it a lot... it's going to make it more of an active item. You're going to have this up every minute. So basically every fight you're going to have this up. Overall, I think it's still going to be an okay item to go. I don't think it's going to make it that much better. I mean, if you think about the other two Leviathans and then as well as Spectral, I think those items probably are a little bit better. But definitely this isn't a bad item. I mean, a little bit better as well. Jade Scepter. The active effect no longer debuffs enemy strength and intelligence. Cooldown reduced by 60 to 40. I really bought this on gods that, you know, don't really have a lot of escapes. I mean, you could buy this on like a Poseidon, Kukulkan, Akate, and be really good. The fact that it debuffed them was nice, but it wasn't really the main product of that item that made it really good. Having that cooldown decrease is really nice, so every single fight you have this up. Lernian's Bow. Active effect changed from firing a single arrow dealing 130% of your basic attack damage to firing 3 arrows, each at a slight delay that deals 60% of your basic attack damage. So instead of 1 at 130, you get 3 at 60%. Overall being like 180 if you hit all of them though. Overall, I think that's better. I think it makes it more fun. I still think it's going to be a niche item though, in my opinion. Basically for anti-heal or shield, you want that. Leviathan Hide. This item no longer stacks twice, but instead has a new effect. Oh wait, it doesn't stack twice. Enemies who hit you with basic attacks lose 10% strength for 4 seconds, and you gain 1 maximum health permanently. Okay, so you don't get 20% reduction in basic attacks, you get 10%. Well, scratch what I said about Nemean Lion. If they're going to nerf this by 0.5%, you get 1 max health permanently. I guess I had to see how much health you really get realistically. I don't know. I don't like this item that much. 1 max health permanently seems like a little... not a lot. For the change in 10% strength, they probably should... I feel like they should have just kept this on the same and added the 1 max health. I don't think this... I don't know. I don't know. Nimble Ring. Passive intelligence conversion increased from 2%... or no, sorry. From 2 basic attack damage and 2% attack speed for every 30 intelligence to 1 basic attack damage and 1% attack speed for every 10 intelligence. Passive intelligence conversion increased from 2 basic attack damage and 2% attack speed for every 30 intelligence to 1 basic attack. Okay, so instead of 2 for every 30, you get 1 for every 10. So at 30, let's hypothetically say we're comparing it to 2, you're going to get 3% attack speed and 3 basic attack damage when you equate it to 30 intelligence from this new, from at 10. So overall, just a buff. It's going to make mage ADCs a lot better, seems, with all these new item changes. Pendulum Blade decreased by 250, right? No, 150. Decreased strength from 55 to 40. Oh my god. Increased ability cooldown reduction from 3 to 4 seconds, but decreased cooldown by 10 seconds. Okay, so they're really making this item, honestly, if you're, yeah, I actually like this. If you're gonna change, you can change the gold amount to make it cheaper, because this is a very expensive item. You can reduce the strength, but I want that cooldown to be more, especially with for this too. That's specifically why I buy this item. The stats are cool, but the passive is really what you buy it for, the active. All right, Kin's Blade reworked passive. Oh god, your basic attack deal bonus physical damage to gods equal to 3% of their max HP. And an additional damage equal to 4%. Yep. The new one is your basic attack deal bonus physical damage to gods with more health than you equal to 10% of the difference in maximum health. Okay, so okay. I'll have to do the math here. Let's go pull up the handy dandy calculator. All right, let's see. If somebody, let's hypothetically say a tank has 3,200, let me make sure this is in line right here. Let's say the tank has 3,200 health. Let's do 1 auto, right? So 3% of their max HP. So we're gonna do 0.03. That's gonna be 96 damage plus 4% of the difference in maximum health. So let's remember the 96. Let's just say you have what, like 20, let's just say 2,000, for example. You know, you might have more, might have less, depending on the god. You probably have more, because whatever. But let's just hypothetically say 2k. Let's do the difference between 2,000. So, I mean, 3,200 minus 2,000 is going to be 1,200. And then you take 4% of the difference, so 0.04. You're doing 48 plus 96. Overall, it's 144 damage. Well, now with the new one, let's see. So let's just do, so 10% of, they got rid of that. So that'll be, let's just do it again. 3,200 minus 2,000, 1,200. And then you take 10%, which is going to be 120. You're doing a little bit less. You're doing a little bit less. Yeah. Now. Yeah. I don't know. 144 compared to 120 based on the same premise of that. Now maybe it could be the case that as it scales up, the difference in between your health, it's going to be better with the new kins, but honestly, I don't know. Looks to be the case that it might be doing less. But what this does mean actually though is now tanks can't really buy this item. So the thing with this item was that you would take 3% of their max health, but you know, you deal additional damage equal to 4% of the difference in maximum health. Oh, actually, hold on. Your basic attack deal bonus physical damage to guys with more health than you. Yeah. Okay, that's the qualifier. Dealing bonus physical damage to gods with more health than you equal to 10 health. This item is kind of useless on tanks, is what it seems. Based on what I'm reading, it looks like it's saying with more health, meaning that if, let's say, you're a tank with 3,200 health, like a Bologna, you're going against like a Cupid that has 2,200 health, you're not going to be doing, your passive is basically useless. So what that does mean is that you may be doing a little bit less as a ADC, but for tanks, it kind of guts them, because Kins, being a pretty good staple on a lot of AA warriors, hybrid bruiser gods, they're not going to be able to use that anymore. So is the trade-off good enough? I don't think so, because although you're cucking gods who use kins that can't do that, that's not the entirety of every single god. I mean, if you think of like a full tank Kabrakan, you're still doing less damage, is what it seems like from the quick math that I did. Now, I didn't do every single disparity in terms of, you know, the difference in between them. Like if let's say the god has like 4,000 health in both of these kins, it may be the case that this one does more damage. It really just depends on how much health difference you have, but it seems to be the case the kins is a little bit worse. And then in more niche areas with specific like god classes, it cucks them. But overall, I think this is a little bit worse for the hunters, I feel like. All right. Serrated Edge, clarified description. This item stacks up to 3 times. Okay. Soul Gem, reduced by 100 gold. Decreased intelligence by 20. Increased passive bonus damage from 30 intelligence to 40 intelligence. Increased passive healing from 15 per 5 per level to 5 plus 10 per level. So what's that? 200 instead of 100, right? So overall, that's better for that. You're getting less more intelligence. It's a lot cheaper though, and then you get passive is increased by. So I honestly think that's a bit better of an item. The intelligence was always nice, so that's a little bit bad, but it's cheaper, and the passive is a lot better. So we'll see. Soul Reaver. Enemies hit by your god, maximum health. Yep, enemy gods with health that are hit take 10% of the difference in max HP. It's magical damage that have more health. Okay, so basically the same overall with kins. They're kind of making it line with that. Still think that it's going to be bad. This is going to make it to where Soul Reaver on tanks are not going to be usable anymore. But they didn't really rely on that all that much anyways. So this kind of makes them worse in terms of mages and doing damage to tanks, right? You know, there's no more fucking based on health damage. I mean, you do 5% of your intelligence. I guess I could do the math, but I don't know. It is still an HP thing. But if it's the same way that works with kins, it's not as great, I don't think. Spirit Robe, when the passive triggers, you now also restore 6% of your max health over the next 6 seconds. Okay, that's pretty nice. They're actually making Spirit Robe and Mantle of Discord disparity a lot more. What do we got here? Oh wow, we got a lot. Oh my gosh. Looks like a bunch of stat changes. Stone of Binding, decreased recipe by 200. Decreased physical and magical protection by 10. Okay, so that's pretty significant. They did that before as well, which is not nice, actually. Rework passive. Previous. Enemy gods, 10 physical for 4 seconds. Now it's 5 for up to 4 times. You have 150 more protections from items apply. If you have 150 or more protections from items apply 2 stacks at a time. Not terribly hard to get as long as you build really tanky. So, which makes it to where that's sort of the same thing, but you can stack it up to 4 times. That really makes, I mean, depending on what god you are, let's say you're a Hercules, you're going to be able to get Stone of Binding a lot easier than a god that doesn't have. Like Sobek is another one that's going to get these a lot easier because you have, you know, displacement in your 2 and your 1, so you can get 2 stacks there. Especially if you go with more protections, that could be up to 20. But with gods, for example, that don't have a lot, maybe just like 1, it's not going to make it as great. Overall, that seems like a bit of a nerf to me. Now, you could probably stack this passive with like certain items, like Cersei's Hexstone. That might be interesting. Transcendence, this now is 15 strength and 100 mana instead of penetration, which I think is worse. And then finally, Typhon's Fang, increased passive healing from lifesteal effect from 10 to 15. Increased intelligence from lifesteal multiplier by 0.05. Passive healing from lifesteal. Okay, so you're getting more lifesteal, nice, and you're doing more multiplier intelligence based on lifesteal. So that's pretty good. Typhon's Fang is a full-on buff, and that's all the items there. Looking at some additional PTS changes. Executioner now applies piercing on successful basic attacks to target. Piercing now reduces physical and magical protections by 6% per stack, up to 4 times. I guess it's specifically the magical protection part. Same thing with Totem of Death. Still going to be the same amount, 24% at max. Demonic Grip, same thing, physical and magical. Rune 1, Shield 1, okay. They're just decreasing magical protection, physical protections on the tier 1s. Same thing with tier 2. of these. It seems to be what, 2, 3, 2, 4, 2, and then so these are all the tier 2s. So making protections a lot less. So, you know, when you build these up, initially they're not going to be as potent as they were before. I'm going into actual items now though, and Chile decreased magical protections by 10, Berserkers by 5. Okay, so I'm glad they're kind of gutting some of these tank items. They do a lot. Overall though, I don't think the increase in a lot of the damage items, or there isn't a lot of increase in damage items either. It seems to be the case that they're either leveling out or a little bit of nerf, like the Kins, for example. Breastplate by 5, Eye by 5 of each type of protection. Eye of the Storm, decreased magical protections from 40 to 35. Okay, so I guess they realized after the PTS that they needed to change that. So it's actually 35 instead of 40. 5 by Genji's, Glad Shield by 5. But increased health by 25. So actually, I guess what this really showcases is that all the changes from up here when they were the PTSs live showed to them, they're like, yeah, maybe we should have gutted a little bit more on the tank items, which is nice. So this is going to have a lot more of an impact. So actually, all the things up at the top, kind of my hesitation on it might be changed through this. Okay, so Glad Shield by 5, Glorious Pridwin by 5 for each protection, Helm of Radiant, or Helm of Darkness, increased by 5 for intelligence, decreased physical and magical protections by 5. So these protection items are really looking low, which is fine in my opinion. Decreased physical protections by 5, Nemean by 5, Hussars by 10, but increased health by 25. Leviathans by 10, increased health by 25, Magi's by 5, Mantle by 10. Oh my god. Mantle is giving you 20 protection. It looks so disgusting. Magi is giving you more, wow. Mystical Mail, decreased physical protection by 5, Oni's by 5, Pharaoh's Curse by 5. Phoenix Feathers increasing health, but decreasing protections by 15. My god. Prophetic Cloak by 3. Ruinous Ankh by 10. Okay, yeah. I mean, for 2100 gold, that was a little bloated for Ankh. I'm not surprised by that. Decreased Screeching Gargoyle by 10. Gargoyle has still a lot of protections, comparatively at least. So increased health on Phoenix by 25. Decreased protections by 5. Shield Splitter, increased strength by 5, but decreased protections by 5. Decreased per level scaling from 10 to 5. Okay, so I guess the passive is getting gutted by in half. My god. Shifter Shield by 5. I forgot that was an item, honestly. It's pretty expensive for what it gives. But increased by 50 for health. Shoguns by 5. Spectral by 10. Spirit Negation from 100 to 85, Spirit Robe by 5. Stampedes increased health by 50, but decreased physical protections by 10. Stone of Binding, physical protections to 25. Talisman of Purifications getting more health, but decreasing by 10. Void Shield's getting increased strength, increased health, but reduced in physical protections by 10. Honestly, that's probably one of the better ones. And then finally, Void Stone increased health by 50, but decreasing magical protection by 10. And then these are the bug fixes, and then the voice actor. Cool. All right, so I mean, I guess a lot of these things up here from these items here are kind of moot from the PTS, but overall I think tanks, hopefully tanks are going to be more in line by Monday, April 21st, along with hopefully the changes, a little bit of changes from that will make tanks a lot less potent. But let's go to the items here, see what we got. Some interesting ones. Transcendence and Book of Thoth are going to be interesting. I don't really think getting rid of the pen was smart. Spirit Robe's pretty cool. That makes Spirit Robe with this new change better than Stone of Binding, or Mantle of Discord in my opinion. Soul Reaver and Kins are a little bit interesting. I don't really think I like that. Soul Gem's pretty good. Pendulum Blade's going to be nice. This Nimble Ring's just a full-on buff. Nemean Leviathans is pretty whack. Jade Scepter is cool. Nemean's a little bit better, especially with the Nemean nerf. Eye of Storm's a lot better too, actually. Eye of Storm's a little bit better, especially with the Nemean nerf. Eye of Storm's a little bit better, especially with the Nemean nerf. Eye of Storm's a lot better too, actually. 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 Eye of Demon Blade is going to be a lot better, I think, in my opinion. All these other ones are going to be kind of the same. Dagger of Frenzy's passive is going to be a lot better. And I think that is a good trade-off, specifically with the base stats as well. Cersei's Techstone is going to be interesting, but probably be built more often as well. This Book of Thoth change I was talking about. I think Berserker Shield is probably going to be better for full tanks. And then regarding to these 3 new items, Tear Things be really good, I think. I think really good. Angel Signet is going to be nice, and then Rage is going to be Rage. Going on to gods, let's see some interesting ones. It's going to make Neath one-shot build nice. Agni, you're going to have to see what that's about. Hercules got an unnecessary buff, I think. As well with Yamoja. Sobek's a little bit worse. Cupid is a tiny bit worse, but still very good. And then that's basically it. Kali's coming back. God Builder's here. We're cooking. We are cooking, so we'll see what Kali brings us on Monday as well. But that is it for Open Beta 8. Tell me what you guys think in the comment section down below. Like, comment, and subscribe. Discord in the description down below if you'd like to join an awesome community. Twitch in the description down below as well. I go live every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And finally, I have memberships open for $2.99 a month, I think, and 99 cents a month if you so choose. Obviously not necessary, but much appreciated. But that's everything that I have for you. So with that being said, thank you guys for watching.